Hello and welcome back to Arsenal Domination. And it's the eve of the match against Manchester United. Big game, as I said, after the win, domination indeed, of West Ham at the weekend. Got to keep the momentum going. Manchester United with the new manager bounce still might pose a more significant threat than they would have done a few weeks ago. So good test for Arsenal. One they should win. Manchester United, of course, will be definitely without Mainu and Martinez. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes, particularly with the new system they're playing, which has looked quite good against Everton, but it was just Everton. Um, so we're seeing how that goes. But Arsenal, man for man, should be better, even if Moreno and Partey, who are the fitness doubts, don't make it for this game. Um, but I don't think there's too many selection issues for Arsenal if those two don't. I think the side will pretty much be unchanged as soon as Gabriel and Calafiori are fit. I expect them to be fit, but we will see. I think the only change that might be made, and it will be harsh on Trossard, who played very, very well at the weekend, is that Martinelli will come in. I think that would be a sensible tactical change, partly because Martinelli is also playing well, just like Trossard is. But also, I think with the three at the back, and the wing backs, I think the space might be there for Martinelli to use that pace. Don't expect to see Manchester United in the low block. Maybe Amarim will spring a surprise, but you wouldn't expect to see them in the low block. And that's what allows a space for Martinelli. I think Trossard's more effective against a low block than Martinelli and vice versa. So that will be the change I think we will see, unless one of Moreno or Partey are fit, at which point I'd expect one of them to come in for Jorginho in midfield. And as I say, Arsenal should be better man for man, and they should win the game. So that's Manchester United. I'll pop back on after the game and give my views. But what I really wanted to talk about was something that came up last night when I was on True Gooner, and that was about the makeup of Arsenal's squad. And the debate was raised about Arsenal not having enough specialist players and having too many versatile players. And it was a good question, and the debate was quite quick, and we didn't fully get into it, but it's had me thinking a little bit today um, about that situation. And I think for me, I think when I'm talking here about versatile players that can play multiple positions, I'm thinking here about players like Tomiyasu or Urian Timber that can play um, or right back, centre back, left back, or players like Gabriel Jesus who can play central midfield, not central midfield, centre forward or on the wing, rather than players like, say, Thomas Partey. He's a central midfielder for me. He's not a defender. He plays right back either because Arteta last season doing something daft and playing him there for tactical reasons, or this season where he has essentially played because of injuries rather than because he is the right back. So I think Arsenal probably, to my mind, truly have. I think I sort of gave 8 yesterday. I think it's probably a little less than that. I think it's probably Timber, Tomiyasu, Zinchenko, um, Jesus, Havertz, Trossard. I think that's probably it. Calafiori and Kivior have played left back. I think that's probably not their natural position. I think that's probably left centre half. I think it's a tactical reason to play a centre half at left back from an Arsenal perspective when Calafiori or Kivior play there rather than because it's their specialist position. So, back to the original question, I'll sort of define what I believe these versatile players to be and who I think they are. Do Arsenal have too many? And I think if you go back to the era of Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger, Jose Mourinho, you would definitely say that's true. There were very few in the squads. I was just trying to have a think through, and ironically, this player didn't play for any of those three managers, but someone like James Milner or Owen Hargreaves, they were, who did play for Alex Ferguson, of course, they were outliers in many ways. They were in England squads. I mean, I think both were good players, but they were in England squads because they were one of those rare players that could play multiple positions. And that's sort of what got them in the squad in some ways. but they were a rare commodity. I think these days footballers, and I think it's probably as a result of the academy system maybe, are much better technical players, and that allows them to play a multitude of positions, which makes them more common. But I also think they're needed more as well than they were back in those days, because there are more games. Um, and more games means more pressure and more on the players' bodies and more wear and tear. The squad size has got bigger, but managers don't necessarily like a big squad. They sort of want a core group of players. And that's where those versatile players come in, because they can play a couple of positions. It allows them to keep a sort of slightly smaller core group with some fringe players, whether they be young players like, currently Wanyeri, Miles Lewis-Skelly, or real veterans like, say, Neto. I know he's a backup goalkeeper. Every squad needs one, but you know what I'm saying. And I think that is where we've seen the rise of versatile players. And you can see it across squads, across both Europe and the Premier League. I think a lot of Manchester City's success in the last 6 years has come because they've got players that can play in a few positions. And I think that makes a big difference to them. So I think that's the argument for it. I think the argument against it is that it means that you don't sort of know that one position as well as you might do if you focus on it. It's like at work. If you were focused on learning three things, you're probably going to know them well. But if you focus on one thing, you're probably going to be an expert at it. And I think that that applies to footballers. So I think there's that is the sort of case for are there too many, and why there should be less. And I think both are really reasonable. I just think it is inevitable for the reasons I've outlined about the more games in the academy system and the fact that managers still like that core group of players. It's no longer sort of 13, 14 that it was back with those managers I'm mentioning. But it's probably 17, 18 really these days at most. Pep Guardiola, uses that many players sort of regularly, with a couple of players sort of playing, 10-ish games a season. So it does make it inevitable, but it's a really interesting sort of debate for me. And I think actually, from an Arsenal perspective, although the October to November run wasn't good, I think it's what allowed Arsenal to get through that awkward period with injuries, particularly sort of between September and October, was that versatility when we had sort of 5, 6, 7, 8 players out and available, was the fact that you could move Jurrien Timber to left back or right back. You could move Thomas Partey to right back if you needed to. I didn't count him as a versatile player, but you could use Jesus to come in on the right, when Saka was unavailable. Trossard, although I don't like him, sort of comes into that 10. I mean, he was that weird 10 hybrid with Havertz. I think Ivan quite knew where they were. But you get the point. It allowed Arteta options to move things around. Now, I don't think he did it as effectively as he could and should have done, but it did give him those options to do so. And I think that's what makes it, or made it such a vital part. And that's where I think I'm in favour of this versatility on a personal level. But I do understand the reasoning for why people might think there are too many. But there we go. That's just my thoughts straight off the cuff on versatility within the squad. Let me know in the comments what you think, either about the Manchester United game, which 11 you'd play, or what you think the score will be. I think I went 2-1, by the way, but hopefully that's consistent with what I said yesterday. But hey, someone will pick me up on it if I'm not. Or your thoughts on these versatile players and their role in the squad, either now or going forward, either for Arsenal or across the league. But I think that's enough for me for now, guys. Hope you all have an enjoyable evening or a great day tomorrow, and I will see you soon. Please like, subscribe, and all that stuff, as I always say, because that's what I'm meant to say, and I just about remembered. But have a great time, and hopefully next time I speak to you, it will be coming off the back of a big Arsenal win again. Speak to you later, guys. Cheers. Bye.